Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to this week's Gift of Healing TV. I have enormous pleasure in welcoming. Oh, bless me. Yes. Okay, folks. I hope that's not going to be how the whole program goes. I have enormous pleasure in welcoming Jaki Bent, and very gratefully, because I've been honest about this from the word go. Yes, she's the founder of the Emotional Baggage Diet and Verbal Reiki, and I'll read her bio in a second, but she's also my sister, my youngest sister, and she started down this path before I did. So she's more knowledgeable in her own way, in her own field, definitely, than I am. So, Jaki, welcome to the program, and I'm sorry about that.
That's all right, no problem at all. Thank you very much, Sarah. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you on Gift of Healing TV. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Jaki Bent is the creator of the Emotional Baggage Diet and Verbal Reiki, both of which are tools that will help you to gain, regain, and improve control of your own life and emotions. She says it is about finding the skills to let go, live free, and love life. She is also the founder of a UK-based non-profit, If Everyone Cares, that is working on creating an interactive community map that will pinpoint the nearly 200,000 charities across the UK. She set it up because she had met too many people who struggled to find the help and support that is available to them in times of crisis. And I am going to mention, because she didn't actually put this in her little bio, because yes, I do get my guests to write their own. The Emotional Baggage Diet, Jaki entered a Hay House competition with this, and she came second with the Emotional Baggage Diet. So this isn't something that is anything that hasn't been actually tried and tested in some respects. Hay House thought that much of it. Granted, she didn't come first and didn't get it published, but she did come second. So, Jaki, I'm shouting from the rooftops for you. Welcome to Gift of Healing TV. And please share a little about how you got involved and where the Emotional Baggage Diet came from for you.
Okay, a little bit of background and a little bit of history. For me, who I am as a person, I was an incredibly nervous person, and for a number of years after having had quite a tough time, I found that I'd withdrawn into my shell, and I was what you'd call a functioning agoraphobic. I only went out of the house when I really needed to, and so wherever I could, I was in self-employed, so nobody could sack me if I couldn't get out of the house, all sorts of things like that. And then in 2007, I had a breast cancer scare, and while I was at home waiting for what they call Black Wednesday, which is the day that you get the results as to whether it's cancer or not, I was lying on the settee after having most of my breast tissue taken away on both sides, waiting for the results, and I realised that I was existing and I wasn't living. And I said a prayer, and I said, I really want to live. I don't want to die. I want to live. I don't want this to be cancer. I promise you that if it's not cancer, I will learn how to live, and the tools and things that I learn on my journey, I will share with other people. And I stuck to that, actually. It wasn't cancer, so it was one of those days where I was incredibly relieved and I was incredibly lucky, but it made me realise that I was just existing. And so I went on a journey to find ways to actually enjoy life, to let go of the baggage that was there, that was holding on to me and was ruling my life. And so that's where it came from. So I'm an ordinary person with all the everyday stresses and strains that everybody else has, you know, the bills to pay, the children, well actually they're all grown now, grandchildren, everything that everybody else has. I'm not wealthy, I'm not, privileged in that sense, and yet I am privileged because I enjoy life now. And I respect it and I have gratitude for it, and I breathe it in each day and say thank you. But in 2007, I didn't know how to do that. I had no clue how to do that. I didn't know where to start even, but I knew I needed to. So that's a little bit of the background about me and where it's all come from.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that's what is important, is why I get my guests to share a little bit of their journey, because I think it is so important for all of you out there that watch this. And Sylvie, great, you're in Normandy. Thank you for joining us. Lovely to have you here. Anybody else is out there, please let us know you're there and where you're from, and please feel free to ask questions at any time. Jackie's happy to answer them, and they'll probably be better than my questions for her. So, but please do let us know that you're here. And we like people to realize that we are all just like you. It doesn't matter how far down our journey we are, how much we've learnt. We know that we're here to help others, and we're still learning ourselves, aren't we, Jackie?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I can't say that life is 100% plain sailing, but what I can say is that I've got tools and strategies, whereas things in the past would have absolutely floored me or had me hiding away again, or not doing something because I was so fearful and I had panic attacks about it and stuff like that. I've now got tools and strategies to help me cope with those times and those moments if they occur, because you know, I can't say they don't. They do. Something throws you off balance that wasn't expected. Then it just sets that little bit of a spanner in the works. But I now, I mean, in fact, I did have one question sent through to me through the Facebook page, and they asked me if I could talk about the little visualization that I share with people and actually explain how I do it. So in a few minutes, when we get to that stage, I will share a tiny visualization which literally takes under 15 seconds when you get to it, and will have you smiling. And so that process changes. When you find that you're smiling, it's very hard to be thinking about anything negative. It's very hard to be allowing any negative thoughts actually into your body. It changes your physiology at a cellular level. And it is something you do anywhere, anytime, and nobody knows you're doing it. They might wonder why you're suddenly smiling like a Cheshire cat, but don't worry about that. That's better than having a face that's upside down and frowning a bit. So yeah, so we've had that. I just think I'm an ordinary person, and these are so simple tools because I don't like anything too complicated. I like them to be practical, because at the end of the day, if you suddenly think, oh, I'm having a bad day, and it's going to take you half an hour to put things right in your head, or even an hour or whatever else, a lot of people think, I haven't got time. It needs to be practical. And our thoughts are something that absolutely drive us every day. Yeah, definitely. So
Absolutely. And I think the thing is that, and I hear what you said, our immediate reaction is, I haven't got time. If only we would make that time, we'd achieve so much more.
mm-hmm.
If only we'd give ourselves time to have some time out. I mean, we've talked about this. We're all of us, I think, it's encouraging our clients, etc., to be kind to themselves. And the number of times I hear from people, but I haven't got time, and I'm thinking, you're not listening. If you made the time, you'd actually achieve more in much lesser a time.
Okay, I really hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. However, I think that when we've got let so much emotional baggage into our life, so it can be anything that's happened to us. It can be something that happened yesterday. It could be something that happened back in childhood. And some of my emotional baggage was back from when I was 4, 5, 15, 16. And it had knocked my confidence to such an extent. It had carried on in life, and I was then living life stuck with all of that. And so sometimes if the emotional baggage is holding us down and weighing us down that much, it is hard to find that time. So some of these tools and the ways of thinking that I'm going to share with you is things that are so tiny and so quick that actually you can start to feel better in the moment. And once you start to feel better, then you're more likely to make time to nurture and nourish yourself, look after yourself. So they're about, don't feel guilty. If we feel guilty that we haven't got the time, then actually we're having another negative thought. And that's going, oh, let me please explain. If I'm bouncing up and down, yep, please just forgive me. I'm sitting on an exercise ball. Whenever I'm by my computer, I'm on an exercise ball to try and make myself sit up straight and have a better posture. There you are. So I suddenly realised I was getting excited. So bouncing. So if we're there thinking I haven't got time, we're having a negative thought. And that will compound the way we are and the way we're feeling in that moment. That will actually leave us feeling worse. So let me share this tiny visualization and where it came from. So I was reading a book by Dr. Daniel Amen, who is a world-renowned brain imaging specialist. And he was talking about the number of automatic negative thoughts that we have every day, and it's in the region of 60,000. And when we have these automatic negative thoughts, which the shortening for that, the acronym for that is ants. Those negative thoughts are running around and round in our head like a whole load of ants. Well, the thought of having ants running round and round in my head was something that made me think, actually, I just want to scratch my head, you know, I don't want that. But I also don't like being a statistic. I'm an incredibly stubborn person. If somebody is telling me that the average person has 60,000 negative thoughts every day, which is ridiculous, and that 45,000 of those thoughts are actually the same as yesterday and the day before and the day before that, like a stuck record. Actually, I want to challenge that, and I don't want to be a statistic. I want to change it. So I was like, I don't like these ants running around in my head. What can I do to get rid of them? What can I do to change them? And then I was having a conversation with somebody, and they said, well, have you heard of capability affirming thoughts? And I thought, goodness gracious me, that's a mouthful. How will I ever remember that? And they said, well, it's easy. They're cats. So your capability affirming thoughts are all of the things that you can do. They're all the things that you're good at. They're all the things that are positive in your life. And so I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm dyslexic, and I like to find solutions with things, and I like to find connections. And in that moment, I had a thought, well, hang on a minute. If you had a cat and a cat saw an ant on the floor, the cat would want to play with it, and it would like dot it around until it's gone. So hence this tiny little visualization that takes 15 seconds. So if you catch yourself having a negative thought, what you need to do, or need to do feels like it's a pressure. What you could do is bring in, that negative thought is an ant. First of all, congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back for recognizing you just had a negative thought, because until you start to recognize these things, you cannot change them. You can't change that habit, you can't get rid of it. It's only when you acknowledge it. So pat yourself on the back, because that is something that's really good, because once you've acknowledged it, you can start to do something about it. So you've got your ant, you've seen that you've had an automatic negative thought, you've patted yourself on the back. Well, bring in your cat or your kitten. For me, I have in my visualization a ginger and white fluffy kitten. And I bring in my cat. And my kitten sees my negative thought, my ant, and my kitten comes along in my visualization and it dots it around until it's gone. Well, the visualization of seeing a kitten playing is actually something that makes me smile. And for a lot of people, and hold your horses if you don't like cats, I will give you an alternative in a minute, okay, I promise. But for those of you that like cats, we have our ants and cats. So what you've done, you've had a negative thought, you've recognised it, you've patted yourself on the back, you've seen your ant on the floor, you've brought in your kitten, however it is, or your cat. It can look however you want it to be. You could even give it a name if you want to. You've brought in your kitten has played with your negative thought, it's got rid of it for you, you're smiling because you're visualising a kitten playing. Gone. So you could be in the queue at the shops, You could be at the bank, you could be at home, one of your children could be being a little bit testing. You could have just had one of those frictional moments at work. You could have had something with your partner. It could be absolutely anything. It does not matter what type of negative thought it is or negative situation. You can do this anywhere, anytime, and it is 15 seconds maximum. And if you want to smile a bit more, hey, make it a bit longer. Have your kitten playing with your aunt for a bit longer. Now, I promised you that if you don't like cats or you're allergic to them or something like that, and that would be a negative thought in itself, that I would give you an alternative. Well, frogs. Frogs are a flexible response to ongoing growth. Just imagine, and frogs like ants, by the way, they eat them. So just imagine that the ant is on a lily pad, a frog sees it, and the frog jumps over, hops onto the lily pad, and actually has got rid of it. You could bring your smile bit into it by the fact that maybe, and I'm not being cruel to the frog, I promise it's only a visualization, perhaps it slips on the lily pad and it ends up in the water. Something that makes you smile and laugh, and you're imagining it then climbing back up onto, and it could be a comedy scene. You create it how you want. So you have a choice of ants and cats or frogs. And your ants is getting rid of your automatic negative thoughts with your positive thoughts, your capability affirming thoughts. And your frogs is your flexible response to ongoing growth. See how easy that is? And it's when we get into a rut with negative thinking, what happens is we're creating neural pathways in our heads. They're a habit. And the way I like to think about those is, I think all of us can imagine a tractor going down a muddy lane to a farmyard. The tractor is very heavy, and every time it goes down the lane, it is creating those grooves. And so after a while, the grooves are so deep, and you have where the tyres go, and in the centre you have that little bit that's raised up. Yep, can you imagine that? So after a while, realistically, the driver does not have to think about where he goes when he gets on that track. He could let go of that steering wheel, and that tractor will drive itself, as long as his foot's on the accelerator, of course. That tractor will take the tractor down the track automatically with no steering wheel needing to be done. Well, that's what happens when we've got into such a rut with our thinking. Having these same thoughts again and again, like the stuck record, the 45,000 thoughts that are the same as yesterday and the day before. So if you imagine that when we've had those thoughts again and again, they have created that track in our mind. It is easier for us to think in the same old way than to think of something new. Well, let's imagine that farmer, what's happened is after a particularly wet spell and the muddy spell, the tractor's sunk down a bit more. But the bit in the centre of the farm track is now that bit too high, and it's catching. It's feeling uncomfortable under the tractor. So what the farmer needs to do is create a new pathway, a new track down there, so he's not damaging the bottom of the tractor. Well, that's a bit like us in our life. When we need to create a new pathway, we have to think of it a bit more. Life has got a bit uncomfortable, and we're not really happy with it how it is, and we know we need to make a change. So what that farmer's going to have to do for a while, he's going to have to really hold on to the steering wheel. He's going to have to direct it to be on maybe one side and the centre, to start pushing that earth down and making a more level playing field for the tractor to go along. So the farmer's got to concentrate. That's no different when we're trying to change our thought patterns. We've got to concentrate that bit more, and every now and again we might let go of that concentration, and the same will happen to us as does with the farmer. The farmer just slips back down in. It's not a problem, but he'll notice it just the same as we'll notice it, and you can just tug on that steering wheel a little bit and get yourself back up into that process of creating change again. And if we have these pictures of things, rather than beating ourselves up and telling ourselves off and going, oh, for goodness sake, I've just done that again and I'm stuck in this pattern and it's too hard. And I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of clients who have been in that, and they're just, Jackie, it's just tough. And sometimes it's easier to slip back into that. And I'm like, just think you're that farmer. Just tug on the steering wheel a little bit. And yes, you've got to think about it, but after a while, you will flatten that track again and you'll have a new pathway to create what's new and what you want. And that's what doing these tiny visualizations is about. It's easy. You can do it anywhere. And I can promise you, I was one of the most negative thinkers. Everything was a problem. Everything was against me. Everything was a struggle. I was constantly negative. And now my daughter especially says to me, oh, for goodness sake, Mum, can you stop being so positive? I just want to be in that moment. And so I'm like, okay, I step back a bit. But how incredible that literally within, okay, it was probably the process of getting to the stage where I felt I'd let go of most of my emotional baggage was probably a couple of years. But every day it was getting better and it was getting easier. And it was about, it really was about, wow, I'm no longer in the same patterns, in the same rut. And it made things like work. It made things like being stuck in a queue of traffic, that can be so frustrating. Or, a driver that's cut you up, that you can suddenly be left rattled, or somebody saying something to you in a tone of voice that leaves you feeling hurt, maybe, knocked your confidence, whatever it is. It can be 101 things, 1,001 things. But actually being able to let go of that relatively quickly, whereas that was something in the past that could knock me for a week, 2 weeks, a month. I can let go of the majority of stuff within minutes. If it's something a bit stronger, a bit worse, then maybe it's a couple of hours. But I can tell you by the end of the day, it's not something that is, I will take a lesson from it. Always take a lesson from it. And if it's not my baggage, what's that saying I've seen so often online recently? Not my circus, not my monkeys. Yeah, I love it. I can actually say that type of thing now. It's not my circus, not my monkeys. I can learn from it, but I don't have to take it any further than that lesson with me. And if it was a lesson that was learning that was negative, I will find the positive that I have learnt from it in a positive way. Does that, so it isn't a negative. But anyway, I've talked for a lot. Sarah, have you got any questions?
No, I think it's brilliant. Susie's joined us, and she's been here for a while, so lovely to have you. Susie's local to me.
Okay, lovely.
Bless her, she's I hope she doesn't mind me saying, she's done her Reiki 1 with me, so so she's sort of one of my students, for want of a better word. So welcome. And Susie, Sylvia, you two have let me know that you're here. If you've got any questions for Jackie, you've got any comments, because sort of this is for all of you. And as Jackie would tell you, there is no such thing as a silly question. In fact, I know you were talking from a perspective of sort of advertising and marketing, but you passed a comment when we were talking before the program started about explaining things simply, and sort of maybe actually using that in this process wouldn't be such a bad thing to say, because it's right for everything, really, I think.
Everything when it's simple. To me, okay, emotional baggage is something that affects us at a totally cellular level. It has an effect on our everyday life. It has an effect on what we focus on and what we see. So if you think that if you're feeling negative, see, I've got one of my little booklet bits here, and it's about focus. However we are feeling is how we see stuff. And if we are feeling negative and if we are feeling low, it is a bit like having a dark room with a flashlight, a torch. And all you can see, all that is illuminated to you is anything that is negative. In fact, on training courses, when I run training courses to do with helping people to let go of emotional baggage, do you remember as a child that you could get a piece of paper and you could roll it up and it became a telescope? And I actually get people in the room to get a piece of paper and roll it up as a telescope, and I ask them to look through it and what they can see. And I say, what you can see is only what you're focusing on through the telescope. And yet there's a whole room here. Yep, you can't see any of the rest if you're focusing on the negative. And okay, if you've got yourself to a stage in your life where you're focusing on the positive, then that's great, because you don't notice those negative bits, and that's the chances are you're having a far happier life. You feel like you're living rather than just existing. But if you are focusing on the negative, or anything that you feel you haven't got right, or I could have done this better, or this, that, and the other, and you're letting it run your life because you're stuck in those ruts, then all you are seeing, if somebody says something to you, you are more likely to interpret it that they were judging you, anything that's negative. In fact, I find it hard to find the negative choices now, because I've moved away from it the majority of the time, and unless I'm in one of those like tiny blip moments, which yes I get, it's hard to see them. But changing how you think stops you from looking at the world with a torch or through a telescope, and helps you to see the colour in life and all the things that are good. And it is as simple as that, and that will change your body at a cellular level as well. And I say that from experience, really. I mean, Sarah, you know very well that my breast cancer scare wasn't the last. It was part on a journey, and I can honestly say that in this last few years, the couple of times that I have slipped back into my rut, because I did. The first time I slipped back and I wasn't fulfilling the promise I made in the prayer, that if it wasn't cancer, I promised I would learn how to live and I would share those tools. The first time I was diagnosed with osteoporosis, and the challenge has been that sadly it's fast progressing, but it reminded me that I wasn't keeping to my promise. And the next time I had my slip, I got skin cancer. And I was like, okay, I'm listening now. Every time I'm not fulfilling my promise, you're giving me a nudge. And actually each of those nudges has been really good, because it reminds me of the place I want to be in. And I think the reason that I'm sharing that with each of you is the fact that it doesn't matter if you have a blip, because you can start changing the direction of your tractor or whatever it is whenever you want to. You literally can take hold of the steering wheel of your life any second that you choose to. And I wonder if any of you are guilty of this. Do you get towards the end of the year and think, oh, it's nearly the new year, I'll make my New Year's resolution on January the 1st? Or, oh, it's a Wednesday, I'll start making the changes next Monday. Or it's the 15th of the month and I'm going to put the new changes into place on the 1st of the next month. How many of us do that and put a time to it? The 1st of the month, the first day of the week, the first day of the year. Well, let's throw that one right out of the window, because the second that you choose you want to make a change, you can start making that change. You do not have to wait till Monday. You don't have to wait till the first of the month. It may be that you want to mentally prepare yourself for that. Well, actually, if you're doing that, you're starting to make the change already. Why not pat yourself on the back for the fact that you're getting yourself prepared for the change? See that as a positive. Does that make sense? I can see you nodding, Sarah.
Well, yeah, no. And it makes a huge amount of sense. I mean, personally, last year, I decided to do a 30-day juicing plan. And, you know, sort of so many people actually started on a Monday. In fact, the way they'd set the plan out was as if people had started it on a Monday, because the treats came on the Saturday and Sunday. Only I didn't. My reaction was, no, I'm starting this. And I started it on the Saturday.
Yeah. Did you have your treats on the Saturday?
Well, no, because for me, what happened then was that sort of fell out of sequence. And I just thought, no, if I'm going to do this, I'm blooming well going to do it. And I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
Because I didn't find it a great lot of fun. I really didn't. I'm not a great vegetable person. I love fruits, but I'm not a great veg person. And I did struggle with it. And I had to make compromises within it purely because I couldn't have done it at all if it was do it religiously. And I think anything is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And personally, I still have a juice a day minimum. And there's one day a week where I have the 3 meals a day of juices. So I've kept it up. And this is nearly a year down the line, because come August, it's sort of, it'll be the year. So I think it is taking exactly on board what you said. It isn't a matter of wait for the first, wait for Monday, wait for the new year. It's, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it and start it now, because you're always putting off till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And in fact, on Facebook, there's a tomorrow is the new now, or something. And I'm sure you'll have seen
now
it.
Now is the new tomorrow.
Now is the new tomorrow. Yeah, thank you,
There
Jaki.
you are. Tomorrow. There you are. That's a good one.
But that's just it, isn't it? It's don't leave it till tomorrow, because tomorrow isn't here. Yesterday's gone, so there is only today. And don't leave it. And every time I find myself, I'll get that done tomorrow, I'll get it done tomorrow, and it blooming well never gets done. And it's just like, right, pick myself up, do it today. Make sure it's one of the first things I do in the day, then I can do the rest of it. And I think we all have to get ourselves into what works for us.
Fantastic. That's exactly what I was going to pick up on, is just because something works for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to be what's right for you. Do it that is right for you, but be honest with yourself, because I think that's one of the, I've got another one of my little book bits here in front of me. And every action you ever take is an investment in your life. Every action is an investment in your life. And if you are taking no action, that's still an action, and it's an investment in your life. And I wonder whether I can, I'm just seeing if I can remember something called the 5 roles. Something else that I put together was the 5 roles in life. And I'm going to try and remember it, because it's a long time actually I've shared it with anybody. And I believe that each and every one of us, if we looked at our CV, there are 5 important roles that go on our life. Each and every one of us is a gardener, because every action we take is a seed that we're planting for tomorrow. Okay? Each and every one of us is a life coach, because each and every thought that we have is programming us for how we're living. Each and every one of us, I'm only going to be able to remember 4 of them, is an investment banker. Okay? Because how we invest our time each day whether that be working, having time with our families, relaxing, making time for us, gardening, whatever it is, we are investing in our future. And the other one is each and every one of us is a CEO of a company, and that company is us as an individual. We are our own CEO. Well, I can tell you that back in 2007, I asked myself, would I employ myself? And my answer was no. And I mean employ myself in my own life, because I wasn't doing myself any favors. I wasn't making my life any better. I wasn't improving my life. In fact, by not taking action, by living in fear, I was actually stagnating, and my life was, I was existing. As I said, I was existing. And so I asked myself, now, am I happy to be the CEO of my own company called me today? 95% of the time, yes, I am. Yes. And I think that's a really good percentage. And occasionally it might slip a bit lower than that. And occasionally it might go a bit higher than that. But I think that that's a really good percentage. And I think that's an honest and realistic percentage. So I'll try and remember the fifth one, because I know there are 5 roles. I don't think I've got the little book there. No, I haven't. But I'll put it up and I'll share it as a blog. I'll share it for you.
Brilliant. I've got a question for you from Susie.
Okay.
First of all, she says it is now is the new later. So brilliant. Thank you, because she's posted it on her Facebook page as well. So we're all finding this. And she says, Jackie, Sarah knows my story, and even now it's still very difficult to let go. The worst thing for me is that my ex-partner left people thinking badly of me, unfairly, which really hurts. I know it shouldn't matter, but it does. How do I drop that emotional baggage, please?
Okay, right. Susie, Sarah will tell you that I've had very similar experience, haven't I?
Yeah.
Very, very, very similar. So I've actually been there. That's part of the reason I was existing and not living. Susie, can I ask, were you on the call to hear the bit about the ants and the cats and the tiny visualization? Are you able to type in the answer for whether you were on the call for that? Because if not, I'll go back over that. I'm going to assume for a second that you were. How I got rid of that and left that and let go of that was actually by using that visualization and thinking about this one thing. Every time I thought about, for me, it's my ex-husband and what he had done in how it was, I was in an emotionally abusive marriage, and it took me a long time to have the courage to get out of it. And at the point when I did have the courage to get out of it, I needed women's aid to help me and support me. And there were people left. In fact, in the village we lived in, he actually got somebody in the village to type up all the notes about what an awful person I was. So of course that then got spread around the village that we'd lived in. And it devastated me to think that people were thinking some of these terrible things that were being said. I was absolutely devastated. But I realized that every time I thought about that and what he had done, I was giving him power over my life. He was still having power in my life. And actually, it was my life. And he was part of the reason I was existing instead of living. And I didn't want him to have any more power over my life, but I didn't really know how to get rid of it. So at the moment, I'm not really answering your question, but I'm saying the thought process I gave over. Would I be giving him money? No. So why would I be giving him time in my life? So I wanted to let go of that and stop him having any time in my life. And the only time he gets now actually is when it's used as an example. And I feel really good about the fact that I've let go of it. So it does change how you perceive it. I used the ants and the cats. I used the ants and the cats every time I found myself thinking about one of the things that he'd said about me, or how I felt about it, or how it left me feeling devastated, empty, hollow. How was it? You know, just the whole thing. I would go, okay, I've recognised I'm having that thought. I'll pat myself on the back. I brought in my aunts. I brought in my aunts were already there because I'd had a negative thought. I brought in my ginger and white fluffy kitten and we're playing. And I would do that 15 times a day, 100 times a day. I would literally bring it in time and time again. And that is creating new neural pathways. And in the end, your mind, your thought process is, well, there's no point in having that thought anymore, because she's not going to let it sit in there. She's not going to wallow in it. She's not going to do that. So your thought process starts to think about other things. At the same time, I did a gratitude journal, and I started off by doing it in the evening. And I started off thinking of 5 things each day I was grateful for. And let me be honest, I struggled with finding 5 things at the beginning of the process. And so I did the things of, I can look out of my window and I can see a tree. I'm breathing. I've got a bed to sleep in. I've had some food today. I mean, it really was that type of thing. And I was clutching at straws to find them. But over time, they started to change, and they started to be things that were, you know, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for the fact that I'm out of that relationship. I'm grateful for the fact that I have the ability to be my own boss, the CEO of my own company, called me. I started to recognize those things. And then I started to do a gratitude journal at the beginning of the day as well. I put 5 things that I was going to be grateful for during the day. I was grateful for the fact that I'd been able to catch my negative thoughts. I was grateful for the fact that I was going to have a good day with my children. I was grateful for the fact that work was going to be all right, whatever it was. And so if there was something that I thought might be a bit challenging, I was grateful for the fact that it had been good. I was programming my thoughts to the fact that it was going to be positive. And then, so with that at the beginning of the day, and with falling asleep with things that I was grateful for at night, I was starting to change even what I dreamt of at night, or not having any dreams, not having any of those nightmares taking me back when I'd wake up at night or whatever else. It started to become a different process, but it was about doing it on a regular basis. It was about taking that time. And I was struggling so much at the beginning, and Susie, I don't know if this is the same for you, but I was struggling so much at the beginning that actually the 15-second visualization was about all I could cope with to start with, and it was about adding other little bits and pieces in. Now, some of what I've been talking about, I've put on my website. You can download a little free taster. I have got nothing to sell on the website, so I am definitely not trying to sell you anything. I'm a giver. It was my promise to share with people what I learned, and I'm a giver. So there is nothing on the website for you to buy, but there is a little button there. You can download a little taster, and it's a little book. And I think I might have put, I'll have a look. I might have put the gratitude journal. If not, message me through Facebook or whatever, and I will send you a link to a free little gratitude journal that you can download, and you could, if you can print it off, then you can write in it each day. I printed mine, the same as this, the little taster. I printed it as A5, so I did 2 pages per A4 page, so that, hey, I'm a Scrooge. I like to spend my money on the things that I can go out and enjoy and whatever else. And also, if it wasn't an A4 page, I could actually fill that in quite easily to start with if it was just A5. So if you set yourself a task of filling a whole A4 page, I think that's too much. But that's just my personal opinion and what worked for me. Cool.
Brilliant.
Is
Brilliant.
that helpful?
Well, Susie's sort of So she said, yes, it was, I think, the ants and cats. So that's great. She responded to that. What I have done, folks, I've put, for those of you watching live, I've put the website address up so that you can see it. You will be able to find that on, for those of you that are watching the replay, you'll be able to find it on the About Us page for the next week. And from tomorrow morning, which will be Thursday morning, I will put it under the YouTube video for those of you that are watching on YouTube. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can still go to the giftofhealingtv.com website and find the link to the website on the About Us page there. Susie says, what a refreshing attitude, Jackie. Bless you. I love the idea of a gratitude journal. Thank you. I will try the cats or frogs, and I can't wait until it just doesn't matter anymore.
It happens. Honestly, Susie, it happens, and you get there. And what is really strange about it is you don't realize to start with it's happened. And suddenly one day you click that you haven't thought about it in the same way that it was before. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't sting so much, and you're able to let go. And it's really empowering. It's incredibly empowering. Yeah, and I think for everybody, it's about keeping it simple. Keep it incredibly simple. Don't do it that it's complicated. Don't feel that you have to. Don't beat yourself up if you've had a little blip. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because that was yesterday. That was the past. The second you're aware of it, it was the past. You're now in the future and you can do something about it. I think it's, I don't know. I never thought that I would get over it. I honestly didn't. I didn't think I'd get over it. And I've had other things happen to me in my life, not only that, and I thought that they would rule me. I thought that they were part of who I was. Allow them to become part of the person you are now, who is stronger, who has a greater understanding for people who've been through it, who can actually just give somebody that look and they know that things can change and get better. And you give them a gift. What you've been through, Susie, will become a gift in the future where you can help other people. I would not change 1 second of my past. I would not change 1 second of my past, because it's who I am today. And because of my past, I'm stronger today. And I'm happier today. I would never have been this happy. I would have just been plodding along in this, I don't know what you'd like to call it, this soup of mediocrity, basically. I don't know. I mean, I wish I could move the camera on my computer to show you. I've got quotes on the walls. Hang on. I've got, this is just one of the quotes that's on the wall behind me. One tree can start a forest. One smile can begin a friendship. One hand can lift a soul. One word can frame the goal. One candle can wipe out darkness. One laugh can conquer gloom. One touch can show you care. One life can make the difference. What you've had in your life, that's just one of them. I mean, impossible, it's just a big word, but actually impossible is I'm possible. I mean, I've probably got 101 or more, actually. I'm under exaggerating there. I've got more, but I use quotes to help me get through life. I use quotes all the time. My favorite quote is, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Until we change something, it can't change.
Yeah.
Very quickly, there's a story of imagine a shack out in the country that's got the veranda and the porch, and you've got the old man and the old lady sat on their rocking chairs, and there's a dog on the wooden stoop, and the dog keeps going and sort of like moaning and whinging, and a stranger comes up and comes to visit them, and after a while, he says, "What's the matter with the dog?" And the farmer goes, "Well, he's lying on a nail and he's uncomfortable." And the man goes, "Well, why doesn't he move?" And he goes, "Well, he's not uncomfortable enough yet." Now, isn't that us in our lives? It's only when we get to the stage we're uncomfortable enough that we make changes. So if ever you feel frustrated, go, "Yay!" Because if you feel frustrated, you're going to start making changes. If you feel fed up with something, you're going to start making changes. So frustration to me is one of the most positive things you can feel, because it is at that point you will start to make the changes in your life.
Brilliant. Brilliant, Jackie. Thank you so much. Susie says, like Jackie and you, Sarah, I'm a natural giver too. And I think that is possibly why it hurts that people think badly of me. This too shall pass. Yay.
Good old Eckhart Tolle. I never know how to say his word. Have you listened to, what's the Earth one, the big one that's 7 volumes or whatever else? Not Here's the Power of Now, but the other one that Oprah Winfrey covered. The audio, actually, that's another tip. I listen to audio books and programs. And when I had the courage to leave my marriage, it was one of the scariest things, because I'd been programmed that I was worthless and all the other bits and pieces. And literally every night for well over a year, I listened to some audio CDs by Tony Robbins, and they were incredible. And I would put them on repeat at night on so low that you could hardly hear them. But if I ever woke up in the night, I would be hearing something positive and empowering, that I could do this and I could do that, and I could make change. And I found that an incredibly valuable thing to do. So I had Tony Robbins, I had Louise Hay, I had Eckhart Tolle, Cheryl Richardson, Mark Victor Hansen with the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, a whole range of them as audio programs. And now the beauty is you can get things like audio books. And this was one. This was a book, and I had it as the audio book, and it's called Flip It by Michael Heppel. And there's a brilliant bit, and it's called The Power of Questions. And it's why versus how. Okay? So I'll read you this. Put on your best ringside announcer's voice as you read this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the big fight. In the red corner, weighing in at an incredible £200, the most pondered word in anyone's vocabulary of questions. Let's hear it for the Prince of Pity, the Mother of Misfortune, the Saint of Sadness, the undisputed champion of negative questioning. Why? And in the blue corner, weighing in at a lean, mean £140, the hero of hope, the champion of chatter, the secret of solution. He's quick, he's quirky, and a little bit flirty. Let's hear it for the contender. How? Now, wouldn't that be a brawl worth watching? The word why is often associated with the negative. Why me? Why now? Why should I? Whereas how is commonly associated with a solution. How can I? How do I? How should we? So it's about changing the words that we use. And I love that. Just that book is worth it just for that page. You know, literally, I mean, it's a few hundred words. And the power of changing how we speak to ourselves, how we frame our questions and everything else in our brain is, well, it's incredible, but they are all part of a process, and you'll find what works for you. Just because it worked for me, it may not be right for you, but you'll start to find solutions in everything.
Brilliant, Jackie. Thank you so much. Sylvie says thank you as well. Very much appreciated. And I had been going to ask you a little while ago for any last comments, and I think you've given us those, especially as we've run over time. Don't worry.
Actually, no, I'm not sorry.
Exactly. So why say it?
Exactly.
It's all right. We can have this banter because because we're family. So I hope that has answered people's questions. Please do go to Jaki's website. Do check it out. Do take the free download. If you want the gratitude journal thingy that she was talking about, email her, and you can do. Can they do that straight through the website, Jaki?
The best thing is go to the Facebook page. Go to the Facebook page and put it there, and then I'll put the link in, and everybody and anybody can have it. That's absolutely fine. So it may very well be on the Emotional Baggage Diet website page. It could be there. I just can't remember at this moment whether I put it there, because again, it's something that I just give away. If it helps people, there it's there. One last tiny thing. One. I thought about it just now. How about having a gratitude stone? Go for a walk on a beach or somewhere like that. Just get a tiny little pebble. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Put it in your pocket or put it in your purse. And every time you're feeling a bit doubtful, just rub that stone or put it in your hand and just feel grateful in that moment. So easy, such a simple tool, any time of the day, anywhere. I'll stop.
So I hope that's helped, folks. And actually, Jaki, if you can send me the so you're saying both of those are on your website, because I'll just put the website link on our Facebook page tomorrow, as well as putting the YouTube video up on putting the video of this up on the Facebook page tomorrow as well, so that everybody's got that. Thank you very much for being with us, folks. Thank you to Jaki for being with us. You can see how alike we are, because you can't shut either of us up. The joy of being sisters. Next week, we are being joined by Linda Lang, who is sharing Releasing Self-Judgment, which I think fits very nicely on from this week, actually. So I hope you will join us for that. And the week after that, for those of you that like to be early birds in this part of the world, bearing in mind we're in England, I'm doing the programs at 7:30 in the morning for the following 5 weeks, because all my guests are coming from Bali, Australia and New Zealand. So yes, the last week in July and the whole of August, we're going to have early morning programs again. So even if you can't join us live, depending on obviously where you are in the world, there are going to be the other people that can join us live, because they haven't been able to up to now, because it's the wrong time of the day for them. So next week is our last one at 7:30 p.m. for 5 weeks after that, but we are going back to 7:30 p.m. after that. So we hope you will join us next week, and have a great week, folks. Jaki, thank you so much again. It's been very much appreciated. And folks, we'll look forward to seeing you hopefully next week. Love, peace and light to you all. Namaste.
Namaste.